Hello, and thanks for joining us again. I'm joined right now by the head coach of the Cal State San Marcos women's basketball team, Renee Jimenez. Thanks for joining us today, Coach.
Morning, Danny.
Well, just want to hear a little bit from your own words about your team to this point of the season. You are 4 games into the year. You've had a chance to, and even have an exhibition game under your belt as well, had a chance to look at your team and learn a little bit about them. But can you tell me what you've learned about your team to this point in the season?
Sure. Yeah. We're going to be late bloomers. I do know that. We have yet to have our full team in practice since September. So we've kind of had the injury bug, the cough, flu, all the stuff I'm sure a lot of teams have had. But unfortunately, it's hit some of our kids harder than others. So it's no secret, like we've had, a couple of our kids out with some stuff for, Jordan Vasquez has been out up to 5 weeks now. I mean, she has not played in a single exhibition or scrimmage to this point or game. So we're looking forward, obviously, to having her back. Had a couple kids out here and there. So it's just been in September. I would tell you, wow, we are talented. We are deep. And so I felt really good in September, and then all these kind of little things started happening. So we're going to be a group that's really good. We're going to play our best basketball probably a month and a half from now. What's been really great is how our other kids have really stepped up. Our younger kids have gotten a lot of experience. It's put a lot of pressure on others to kind of rise to the occasion and become things that we didn't typically have as their role. So we've had Kate Carlson really step up and come into Jordan's, place as our kind of go-to post player, Shasta Parker. And our guards have had a lot more pressure put on them to score. So it's been an interesting dynamic, and hopefully we can get, all those guys in the mix soon and start back to, those really super competitive practices that we were used to having early on. Right now it's been more about maintenance and keeping kids healthy and making sure that, we're still kind of following all of our things we do to keep who we have in. But I'm really excited about where we're going to be, 4 or 5 weeks from now. Like I said, I think we have great depth. We have great point guards. We have great shooting guards. We have a good inside game. I think we cover a lot of bases in terms of you're going to have to kind of pick and choose what you want to give us each night. But to this point, I'm really happy our kids we've kind of had to squeak out some wins where we've had some big leads and kind of ran out of gas in the second half. But it's really showed us that we can battle through some toughness and some adversity, and challenged us as a group, as coaches, to be better. So I'm really excited. I'm excited to get past this kind of hurdle that we've had and get into conference play this week.
No, great to hear on that stuff. So you actually touched on a little bit of this, so I am hoping to hear a little of that inside knowledge. But I looked through the stats and I see you have 9 players averaging 14 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Is one of that reasons you maybe mentioned, is that to try to develop depth early in the season, or is that kind of a health related thing to just keep more players healthy? What is the reason for so many players right now?
I think, we have 14 kids, and they're all really good, and so our challenge is a little different. It's more of, right now at this point, some of our younger kids might not be as ready, but I mean, we have 10, 11 that can play, and that need to play. So that's where, experience in regards to regionals and things like that, when you're playing those back-to-back nights or 3 games in 4 days, you're going to need depth. And so it's really important for us to make sure that we have good balance, that people are seeing minutes early, that they're tested against teams like Western Washington and Westminster. They're a very good team. Seattle's a much improved team from last year. So we played 2 really tough GNAC teams. So it's been great to kind of have some of those guys thrown into the fire early, because we're a little bit older now. We're not as young as we used to be. We don't have that year of rest of COVID under our belt. Dinah Buckner's a 5th-year senior. Kelsey Forrester's a 5th-year senior. Kate Carlson's a 5th-year senior. So we're not as young and boastful and youthful as we used to be, where we're running around bouncing all over the court. So it's kind of nice, those guys aren't playing, 32, 36 minutes. They need to be able to have some games where we can kind of balance some minutes out and have kids come in that the level of play can stay high. So we're doing that really early, but I think all year long, you'll see us playing 10, 11, 12 kids easily.
Fantastic. A couple other stats that stood out to me. I see you guys are leading the conference in a assist to turnover ratio, turnover margin, and the other one
Doesn't feel like it.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
No, all those guards, like, and I even see because of those guards, maybe too, you guys are tied for first in 3-pointers per game, averaging about 8.5 on that one. Is that, is this, have you as a coach adjusted maybe the offense because you are so more guard heavy or, okay.
Yes, we are guard heavy. And we've seen big post players. I mean, the GNAC is huge. Seattle's big, Western's big. So we knew we weren't going to get a ton of easy points inside. And so it's like I said early on, it's put a lot of pressure on our guards to be scorers, for us to take a lot of threes, which we do well. Our kids put a ton of time in during the week outside of practice, getting shots up. So it has put a lot more pressure. We're probably taking more threes than I'd like, but it's kind of need-based right now. We need a lot of scoring right now from our guards because we've seen our opponents have been so big on the inside. I mean, Western has a 6'3" kid. Seattle has big kids. Westminster had 6'2" kids. So we've just seen so much size that it's really forced us to play from the perimeter. I think as we get into conference, you'll see us pounding the ball more inside, really looking to Kate and Jordan and those guys to give us some easy points around the rim. So it's put a little bit more pressure on our guards, but at the same time, it's given them a lot of good experience that they got to be able to make big shots.
Great insight. Thank you so much for sharing that one. So I quizzed you right there with a bunch of stats out there, but so I want to ask you, if somebody were from the outside to ask, basically, what can somebody from the outside not get from the box score or a stat sheet? What is the strength of your team that doesn't show up in those two things?
That's a great question. I think it's the culture. I think there's the one thing that you don't see every day is the work that's put in, not just on the court, but in the locker room with our upperclassmen and how they take care of the rest of the group, the standard that they hold each other to, excuse me, day to day in the weight room with our strength coach. All the moments that coaches aren't there, we have great leadership and we have great buy-in from the group. So I think that's probably the biggest thing, is that we feel like we're built differently, that every detail matters to us, whether that's, the getting a loose ball or how we present ourselves on campus, whatever it is. And so I think our culture really comes into play, and I wish people could see that more, because I think that's what makes our group really unique. Because I wouldn't tell you we're always the biggest, fastest, most talented team on the floor. But I think that there's a way that these guys go about their business each day that with a professionalism for young women to be 18 to 22 and have a professionalism about how they go about their business in the classroom, in the community, on the court, around campus. That stuff trickles into what people see for 40 minutes. And so that's the biggest thing to me that I'm most proud of with our group. And I wish we could somehow showcase that more to the public and they could see that, but I hope they can see that through our play on the court.
Great stuff right there. So you talked a little bit about how somebody might see your team, that other kind of stuff. So I want to hear from your perspective. Let's say you've obviously played some important GNAC teams in November, things like that. But let's say a GNAC team is scouting you again in February. Let's assume you've got healthy and things like that again. What do you want them to say after they watch film the identity of the Cougars is? What do you want your team identity to be in mid-February from an outside perspective?
I think I want them to say, oh crap, right? Like I think I want them to be like, okay, this is not who we saw in November. And it's not gonna be. It's not even close. I mean, we haven't we prepared for an entire offense for now, and we've scratched it and gone to something else, and now we got to kind of get back to it now that our posts are coming into play. So who we are in November and December right now is not who we're going to be come regional time in February and March. We should be, like I said, we should be playing better basketball a month from now. We should be playing our best basketball regionally during regional conference tournament time. It's just going to take us time to get there. I don't think you're going to see us really clicking on all cylinders until middle to late February. I think that's when things are going to come into play, because we have some new kids who are playing significant minutes for us. I mean, we have 2 transfers that have kind of been thrown into it, and with the regard of like, okay, well, I thought it was going to be this, and this, and we're like, well, we got to scratch that for now. We'll go back to that, but now it's going to be, we need everyone to adjust to this. And so I just think you're going to see a bigger, stronger, faster, hopefully healthier team come February. But I think I think people will be really surprised what we look like around that time.
Fantastic. Okay. I have 2 more questions for you. This next one, I'm going to limit it. You can only say 3 things. So you've already talked about it. You were with your team, obviously conditioning in September, things like that. You had your first practice October 15th, and you're probably forming in your own mind of what you think your team's going to look like and other stuff like that. Now, you've had 4 games under your belt, exhibition game on there. What has surprised you most about your team that you were not expecting when you guys were in practice that has manifested over these first 2 or 3 weeks?
I don't like surprises, so I feel like I got a pretty good pulse on this group.
That's fair. Surprise question for you as well. So.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, they are who they are. I think maybe I would say the biggest thing is how much everybody else has stepped up that's not a starter. That's been a very pleasant surprise, to see those guys be like, hey, like they need me. I got to go, like, regardless of what the situation was or is. I mean, sometimes it's like someone all of a sudden is out because they have a cold or they're sick, or a concussion or this or that. And we're like, hey, you're the post player on Friday. And they're like, okay, let's go. And so I think that will to do whatever the team wants them to do. I think that's really surprised me with quite a few of our kids, of just like, okay, this is my role now. It might not be my role next week, but this is what my teammates and my coaches, my team need from me now. So that's been a really, really good surprise for me.
Love it. Great answer. All right. Final question here. So obviously I don't want to pry too much, and you don't have to give anything away that you don't want to, but what goals have you and your team laid out for the rest of this year and CCAA play?
Sure. No secrets. Our kids want to win the conference again. It'd be our 3rd year in a row. Obviously with COVID having a year in between, they have a goal to win the conference. We have not won the conference tournament. That's bothering us. That we have a little chip on our shoulder. We've lost twice now, once to UC San Diego and once to East Bay. And that's really that's not sitting well with the group. And so that's going to be a fun, barring everything goes as planned, that's going to be a fun tournament for us, because that's something that's really important to them this year. Obviously they want to play in the West Regional and want to be in a situation to host a regional. And to, I think with Western Washington doing what they did coming out of the regional, getting to the Elite 8, it's no secret that the West region is hard. It's been like this for years and years and years and years. And if you can get out of the West Regional, you have a really good chance to win a national championship. So I think in the end, the ultimate goal is to win the West region and then see what happens from there. We just, the biggest thing for us is we just want to focus, we want to end our season because there's no more games left to play. We don't want to end our season because we get beat. That's kind of been our kind of mindset and motto going through the year.
Love it. That was great insight. And Coach, just thank you for taking the time today to just sit down and just share a whole bunch of insight about the Cougars and just hear what's going on with the program. It's been great to hear from you. As mentioned, you guys don't have any CCAA games, haven't played one yet, as some of the other teams have, but you guys will be up on the road this week for a little bit of test up at Stanislaus State and at Chico. So, Coach, good luck the rest of the season. And as I mentioned, I hope you have another return trip to Stanislaus a little later in the year for that CCAA tournament in March.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Danny.